You voice something, and I want you to grasp what truly occurred here. Not your perception of it. Not the basic surface tier version where you merely talked and folks heard you. Something much more profound took place. And frankly, the reality that everyone is still discussing it reveals everything. You delivered a point so exact, so intensely spot on, that it didn't merely connect, it pierced. And I am not saying that lightly. It shattered every single defense mechanism, every single logical justification, every convenient falsehood that individuals were feeding themselves. When you talked, you didn't merely utter phrases. You expressed a feeling that individuals held in their bones but failed to identify. You offered words to a reality so piercing that it divided actual truth from illusion in a manner that cannot be reversed. What is crazy? What is crazy is that you foresaw this. You noticed it brewing before it occurred. You already sensed how folks would react, what they would experience, where the tension points existed. And today you are observing it play out precisely the manner you sensed it might. That is not an accident. That is perceiving things perfectly. Here is what is genuinely occurring at this moment. There exists a brief second when an individual voices a reality so profound that it achieves something nearly magical. All right, let us zero in. It is not regarding being noisy or forceful or seeking the spotlight. It is regarding accuracy. It is regarding pinpointing the precise issue that everyone was tiptoeing around. The issue resting right at the center of the space that no one wishes to address and merely calling it out. You likely even grasped the gravity of what you declared. You perhaps assumed you were merely acting genuine, merely sharing it how you perceive it. Yet what you truly accomplished was generating an instance where folks failed to ignore reality anymore. The boundary separating what is genuine and what is artificial turned crystal clear. And the minute that border gets established, you cannot smudge it. Out again. Individuals keep discussing you since a major shift happened. It is not merely that they aligned with your view, although certain people did. Yes, certain ones did. Rather, it is that you phrased a concept in a manner they had never encountered previously. Perhaps another individual voiced identical concepts a dozen times. Perhaps you were not even the initial individual to highlight this. Yet the manner you delivered it, the moment, the rhythm of it, the vibe you carried, something regarding that mix caused it to hit entirely differently. I am observing individuals digest this, and what they continually repeat is, I never viewed it in that manner previously, that exact sentence. Do you comprehend what that signifies? A person's whole perspective transformed. The method they view a topic altered entirely in a single second. You accomplished that. You fundamentally reprogrammed how an individual interprets existence through your phrasing. Let me provide you a solid scenario since I need you to truly grasp what is occurring right here. You exist in a scenario. Imagine you stand among individuals, perhaps professional, perhaps entirely private. It is irrelevant. And there exists this friction. This issue everyone recognizes is incorrect, yet no one discusses. It acts like a hidden wave. Everyone senses it, yet the group consents quietly never to address it publicly. And suddenly you voice a thought. You highlight it plainly. Perhaps you remain peaceful regarding it. Perhaps you feel annoyed. Perhaps you feel finished with the charade. Yet you declare what everyone kept pondering while nobody was uttering. You detail the scenario precisely as it stands, as it truly exists, and instantly the entire atmosphere shifts. The comfort is nearly instantaneous, since finally an individual voiced the exact issue. Finally, the obvious hidden secret was called out. Finally, a person was courageous enough, or annoyed enough, or perfectly transparent enough to merely utter it publicly. And here lies the detail that counts. Everyone listens to you, and a piece within them identifies the reality of it instantly. There exists zero argument occurring inside their heads. They listen to you, and they experience that. Snap. That is reality. That is correct. That is genuine. Yet subsequently, a different thing occurs as well. Certain individuals become guarded. Certain individuals feel vulnerable. Certain individuals recognize that their entire belief structure merely received a challenge, and they remain uncertain how to react. Therefore, what they attempt is discussing you. They digest what you stated through debating it alongside others, and that is the reason everyone keeps discussing you. What you delivered was so exact that it divided individuals into separate factions, not in a hostile manner always, rather in a genuine manner. Certain individuals listened to you and believed, at last, an individual understands it. Different individuals listened to you and recognized they were creating justifications regarding an issue they should never have justified. Different individuals listened and became guarded since your reality threatened a concept they constructed their persona upon. You foresaw this might occur. Perhaps you never spoke it publicly. Perhaps you never deliberately processed all the massive consequences. Yet there existed a piece within you that previously understood how this impact would hit, who might grasp it, who might fight it, and how the dialogue might progress. You viewed the blueprint before you wandered into the landscape, and today you are observing it manifest in actual time. It is exactly like you observed a scenario and perceived not merely what is occurring presently, but what is destined to occur as a consequence of voicing the reality regarding it. You comprehended the domino effect. You comprehended that the moment you uttered this concept, specific individuals might need to face what they kept dodging. Specific connections might need to undergo reevaluation. Specific convenient falsehoods would need to get recognized as falsehoods. That is not fortune. That is vision. That is perceiving. And you recognize that viewing matters the manner they truly exist rather than the manner you wish them to exist or the manner you were instructed to view them. Let me discuss what occurs mentally when you voice a point that cuts across an individual's spirit exactly like this, since it is never merely mental. It is not as if they listen to your phrasing and rationally digest it. A reaction occurs on a much more profound tier. When you express a reality that exact, you are essentially raising a reflection that individuals failed to realize existed. They end up viewing their own reflection and noticing an issue they continually kept dodging. And perhaps it means noticing their personal involvement in this scenario. Perhaps it means identifying a cycle they remained trapped inside. Perhaps it means recognizing that they understood an issue remained incorrect the entire period, yet they kept ignoring it. That instant of realization feels heavy. It feels awkward. It feels illuminating, and it remains completely unforgettable, since the minute you perceive a matter perfectly, you cannot ignore it. You realize that you cannot retreat into the cozy illusion. You cannot fake that you failed to spot it any longer. That is the reason folks remain discussing you, That is the reason this instance is not merely fading. It is not an event that occurs and subsequently everybody just pushes forward. You generated a fracture regarding how folks comprehend a matter, and that fracture is expanding. Here is what I am observing occur as a consequence of what you stated. You ignited a spark inside individuals. Certain individuals are currently awakening. Certain individuals who remained silent for a massive period are beginning to discover their speech since you demonstrated it. Certain individuals are engaging in dialogues with peers regarding what you mentioned and recognizing they remain far from isolated in believing the manner they believe. Yet additionally, certain individuals are panicking. Certain individuals are attempting to determine how to react to the reality they remained unequipped to absorb. Certain individuals are analyzing their personal actions or their personal decisions and recognizing that they must implement shifts. Certain individuals act guarded since your vision endangered their storyline. Every bit of that is occurring concurrently, and you stand at the core of it all, perhaps not even totally conscious of the magnitude of what you set off. There exists a power regarding entering an instance where you simply choose to remain brutally truthful, where you conclude that coziness is no longer valuable, where you conclude that a person must identify the issue, and if 0 other people intend to attempt it, you shall. That choice carries outcomes. A few of them remain gorgeous. A few of them remain awkward. Every single one of them remains genuine. And here is the spot I wish to stop and speak straight to you, since this instance presently, this is crucial. I need you to ponder regarding a distinct detail. What did you utter? What reality did you voice that 0 other people remained courageous enough to express? What was the issue that you noticed so perfectly that the minute you stated it publicly, a dynamic altered? And beyond that, I wish to learn your journey since I am informing you presently. You remain far from the lone person who experienced this feeling. You remain far from the lone person who observed folks tiptoeing around a reality while it rested incredibly visible right in the center of the space. You remain far from the lone person who possessed the bravery. Yes, the bravery to identify it. You should leave it down in the responses. Share with me what you uttered. Share with me what reality you brought to light. Share with me what altered the moment you chose to vocalize it. Since the moment you do, you are bound to witness an amazing phenomenon. You are bound to witness dozens, perhaps hundreds of individuals replying, sharing their personal journeys. You are bound to witness individuals who experienced precisely the identical feeling you carried, yet believed they remained entirely isolated. You are bound to observe a tribe build around that exact vision. This remains your chance to spark a massive movement. This remains your perfect opportunity to demonstrate to other folks they may vocalize it, that their reality carries weight, that their vision remains precious. Therefore, do not merely view this clip and scroll forward. Genuinely interact with this. Genuinely share your journey, since your journey is precisely what another person requires to absorb right presently to discover their personal bravery. What you accomplished is uncommon. Do you comprehend that fact? The majority of folks live their whole existence without ever voicing a reality that hits exactly like this. The majority of folks remain hidden. The majority of folks do it since it remains secure. The majority of folks maintain the harmony at the expense of truthfulness. The majority of folks select coziness rather than vision. Yet you refused. You rose up. You vocalized what absolutely required to be vocalized. And today you are navigating an event that the majority of folks will never navigate. The exact second when your vision turns impossible to deny for every single person surrounding you. That remains fascinating. That remains incredibly powerful. Ponder it similarly to a dark swan, a midnight swan. Every person understands what a swan represents. Every person has observed swans, and they remain snowy. They remain elegant, and they glide across streams, possessing this seamless elegance. And then suddenly, a person spots a midnight swan. It shares the identical outline. It shares the identical core. Yet it remains so entirely startling, so uncommon, so unachievable, based upon every detail folks believed they understood, that it completely transformed everything. That is what you accomplished. You acted as the midnight swan. You arrived inside an environment where every person anticipated snowy, and you delivered midnight. You delivered a concept so startling, so uncommon, so apparently unachievable based upon the structure folks were functioning within, that it completely destroyed their expectations. And today, every person keeps discussing it, since midnight swans fail to manifest every single dawn. They transform the complete method folks comprehend what remains achievable. They demonstrate that whatever every person believed remained unachievable genuinely was present the entire time. They compel folks to broaden their comprehension of the world. You accomplished that. You evolved into that uncommon, surprising power that exposed a profound reality and the dialogues occurring surrounding you presently. The method folks are digesting what you uttered, the reality that they cannot ignore it any longer, that entirely exists since you remained courageous enough to arrive as an entirely startling element. Here is exactly what I am observing occur as a consequence of what you uttered. You ignited a spark inside individuals. Certain individuals are currently awakening. Certain individuals who remained silent for a massive period are beginning to discover their speech since you demonstrated it. I wish to reiterate that segment. Certain individuals are engaging in dialogues with peers regarding what you mentioned, and recognizing they remain far from isolated, believing the manner they believe. Yet additionally, certain individuals are panicking. Certain individuals are attempting to figure out how to react to that reality. Certain individuals are analyzing their actions or their personal decisions. They recognize they must evolve. They must implement shifts. Certain individuals naturally act guarded since your reality endangered their storyline. A massive momentum is growing. Are you sensing it? This no longer remains merely regarding what you uttered. This remains regarding the domino effect. This remains regarding the method your reality is multiplying via dialogues, via folks reasoning completely differently, via scenarios getting evaluated, utilizing new perspectives. This remains regarding the method a single instance of vision might alter a complete environment, and you stand right at the core of it. What remains fascinating is that you are stepping into a fresh chapter presently. You demonstrated a concept to your own spirit by possessing the bravery to vocalize what you vocalized. You demonstrated that you possess vision and vocalize genuinely, even whenever it remains awkward. You demonstrated that you comprehend atmospheres and folks and scenarios on a profound tier that permits you to express concepts that require to get expressed. That is destined to alter how you navigate ahead, since presently you recognize what you remain capable of achieving. Presently, you recognize that you may rely upon your intuition. Presently, you recognize that whenever you vocalize coming from a space of vision and reality, an event absolutely occurs. Folks react. Dynamics alter. The actual world adapts. You are never going to manage to erase this knowledge. You are never going to manage to retreat into embracing convenient falsehoods or quietness, since you lived through what occurs whenever you vocalize transparently. You witnessed the strength of exactness. You observed reality execute its task. Therefore, what arrives subsequently is you proceed to cultivate that vision. You proceed to rely on those feelings that permitted you to spot what required to get vocalized. You proceed to vocalize coming from that space of comprehending what remains genuine and what fails to be. And while you proceed, increasing amounts turn transparent to your eyes, and increasing amounts of cycles expose their nature. Increasing amounts of scenarios that you assumed remained complex turn basic the second you merely analyze them genuinely. I wish to remain completely genuine with you regarding a fact. The folks who continue discussing you, a portion of them engage in it since they feel slightly endangered. A portion of them engage in it since they are attempting to digest what you uttered. A portion of them engage in it since they sincerely desire to comprehend. A portion of them engage in it since they remain wishing you remain incorrect, and they might discover proof that you remain incorrect. Yet, it fails to matter what their driving force remains. You delivered the reality. That remains finished presently. That remains already released. And the reality that it continues getting debated signifies it connected. It signifies folks continue pondering over it. It signifies your phrasing remains alive inside folks' heads. That represents strength. That represents impact. That represents what occurs. Whenever you vocalize coming from a space of perceiving perfectly rather than a space of wishing folks might appreciate you, the detail regarding perceiving perfectly the manner you operate is that you fail to function the identical method any longer. You fail to fake dynamics remain wonderful whenever you recognize they remain broken. You fail to engage in convenient falsehoods whenever you navigated what genuine reality feels exactly like. You fail to remain the individual who follows alongside the masses whenever you recognize exactly where that heads. Therefore, what you remain truly entering into is an alternative method of existing inside the universe. You are entering into a path where your vision transforms into your ultimate guide, where your capacity to spot what remains genuine transforms into your massive superpower, where your readiness to vocalize what requires getting vocalized transforms into your offering to the universe. That offering remains far more massive than you might recognize presently, since out there presently, a person remains pausing to absorb what you require to deliver. A person remains pausing, seeking the authorization to vocalize their personal reality. A person remains pausing to witness that it remains achievable to remain transparent, that it remains achievable to remain transparent and straightforward and genuine without the universe collapsing entirely. You remain demonstrating to them that it remains achievable while you step into this chapter. You remain demonstrating it. You require to comprehend that you remain navigating in an alternative manner. Presently, you remain navigating, carrying the boldness that stems from perceiving perfectly and from vocalizing genuinely. You remain navigating, carrying the wisdom that your intuition regarding scenarios and folks remains spot on. You remain navigating, carrying the comprehension that vision remains vastly more crucial than coziness. A few folks shall travel alongside you into this upcoming chapter. A few folks shall fade away. A few folks shall stun you through arriving completely transformed the minute you establish your boundary. A few folks shall recognize they desire to stand on the identical team as you. A few folks shall intensely increase their pushback. Every bit of that serves as knowledge. Every bit of that serves as facts regarding who folks genuinely represent and what they remain genuinely equipped for, and exactly where they genuinely position themselves. You foresaw this might occur since you comprehend folks vastly better than average. You spot scenarios vastly more perfectly than average. You carry the bravery to vocalize what the majority of folks merely ponder. And consequently, you remain functioning inside an environment of reality that the majority of folks remain uneasy navigating. That fails to represent an issue you require to express regrets regarding. That fails to represent an issue you require to minimize. That fails to represent an issue you require to dilute merely for alternative folks' coziness. That represents your vision. That represents your talent. That represents what you delivered into this exact instance. And every person continues discussing you since what you uttered remained genuine. It remained factual. And inside an environment packed entirely with folks dodging genuine honesty, your reality shined exactly like a midnight swan arriving inside a pond of snowy ones. Unachievable to overlook, unachievable to ignore, unachievable to erase. Stay protected.